Well, so we'll be joined by Robert Amwafo, who is Amnesty International. Now, I have to do the appropriate thing, wear my mask. So this is how it's done, usually. Okay. Decided to display it this one in the way it's done appropriately. Mama Viosobaji, good morning to you.
Oh, good morning. How are you? Well, I thought it was going to be a big party with Robert this morning. Unfortunately, we can't have him.
Yeah, today was the
this
finale,
morning.
Right?
Exactly. We'll probably wrap up with him on Monday.
Yeah, we wanted to climax well with him.
So we're talking about the Executive Director of Amnesty International, Robert Amwafo, who's been joining us for the review. Unfortunately, that can't happen this morning. But we've got the newspapers in the studio. So let's just run through the papers as we have them. Today, Friday, September 4th, 2020. And I want to start with the Finder newspaper. Front page of the Finder says Agyapa royalties not suspended as government engages CSOs. Dagon deeply grateful to government for ensuring peace in the area. That's according to the Yana. And then Ghana-Nigeria strike deal to set up joint business council to end trade fracas. It actually features in quite a number of the papers this morning. No positive COVID-19 case recorded since KIA reopening. Coalition expresses disappointment in the implementation of RTI Act. By way of headlines, that's what's on the front page of the Finder newspaper. We'll get into the inside pages and share some stories with you. For instance, there's this one, SHSs with COVID-19 cases to delay vacation. We'll share a bit of the details with you. Let's do the Daily Graphic. Front page of the Graphic also says paying clients of collapsed fund management companies. Government's bailout covers entire claims, according to the Securities and Exchange Commission. There's a picture of the Director General of the Commission, Reverend Daniel Ogbami Tete, coming along with this headline. And this is a story that a lot of people are interested in, particularly those who have their monies locked up, who have not been able to retrieve their monies. They want more understanding of how the monies are going to be paid. So we'll share what's in the inside pages with you. Also, NDP acclaims Nana Konadu Rawlings, Flagbearer tomorrow. Jerry Rawlings is the special guest. We've cleared legacy arrears. That's according to the Ghana Education Service. Ghana-Nigeria relations intact. Misunderstanding fueled by illusions, according to the Nigerian Speaker of House of Representatives, who has been in Ghana, the invitation of the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Okwe. And, you know, the delegation met with the president. We'll be sharing, you know, that bit, which is really, really important with you. In the center spread, testing process as KIA reliable, according to the Ngochi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. It said that its assessment of the coronavirus disease testing process at the Kotoka International Airport in Accra has shown that it is reliable and appropriate. UDS to establish campus in Yendi, and then attraction of health workers to deprived areas. Ghana Health Service outlines measures. On the back page, Nursing and Midwifery Council donates to 4 health institutions. Water providers demand arrears from governments. It's also another headline on the back page of the graphic. On to the Ghanaian Times now. This same story, Nigerians are safe in Ghana. President Akufo-Addo assures visiting Nigeria, Speaker of House of Representatives. NDC demands justice for victims of electoral violence. Government engages CSOs to clarify Agyapa royalties deal. But as you've heard in the Finder, from the Finder actually, that they say the deal is not on hold. Government is not suspending the deal, even as it engages CSOs and other stakeholders. Active COVID-19 cases dropped to 856, death toll now 281. And then on the back page of the Times, World Health Organization supports COVID-19 fight. And then the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources yesterday presented 690 waste bins to the ministries in Accra. That story is on the back page of the paper. There are some crime-related stories. 2 ex-convicts arrested for alleged robbery and murder. This is on page 3 of the Ghanaian Times. Two in trouble for allegedly swindling Nigerian businessman of 140,000 Ghana cedis. Lactating mother jailed 6 months for causing harm. Is a 21-year-old lactating mother and a seamstress apprentice who caused harm to her 8-year-old stepdaughter at Nyankoman in the Awen municipality. She's been sentenced to 6 months imprisonment by the Enchi District Magistrate Court. The court also ordered Mary Aka, alias Aso, to pay a fine of 1,200 Ghana cedis or in default serve 6 months in prison. She was convicted on her own plea of guilty. Maybe we'll tell you what she really did to her stepdaughter when we settle down to touch on details of the stories. But the last paper for me is the Daily Statesman. Front page, Yana comments Akufo-Addo for Dagbon peace. Akufo-Addo proposes joint committee to handle Ghana-Nigeria first. Togbi Afede condemns Agyapa deal, says it is shrouded in secrecy. There's some distancing on this issue. There's a bit of a back and forth with what Togbi Afede said or may not have said. If we can, we will clarify that for you as well. But Roland, that's it for the papers that I have.
Okay, so clarifying what Togbi Afede has not said, but has been published to have been. Yeah. So let's go to the Daily Guide. Has on the front page, I heard my sister crying on phone. Taddy girls witness. Oh, this thing just. Speaker meets Nigeria speaker over trade row. And again, we'll have a lot to say about this as we wrap up with the headlines on the newspapers. Two nabbed for fencing murder. Dagbon grateful to Nana. And this is sourced to the Yana. Great interventions to make sure at least peace is restored to the Dagbon kingdom. The Daily Dispatch has on the front page, you find it, Nana Konadu Rawlings to be chosen as NDPs Flagbearer. She had 16,935 votes, 0.16% in 2016. 5 Ghanaian politicians who have been physically assaulted. I don't know, we didn't should have added Slows as well. So we have Gabi Otredako and then Neil Vanderpoy all on the front page. I've also been assaulted several times in my career. I don't know why. We need some dedication these days. We've been assaulted in the line of duty. But for as they say, it's normal. So government softens stance on controversial Agyapa royalties deal. And then on the back page, we have the stories expanded for you. Let's go to the Observer. Has on the front page, Dagbon deeply grateful to Akufo-Addo, Dagbon overlord. 4 more for Nana fever catches Volta region. It's also on the front page of the Observer. Amidu blast Nano Pukuajamai over a Hoy book on the front page of the Observer as well. Ghana winning COVID-19 war as active cases drop. Akufo-Addo's policies. Akufo-Addo's policies are people-centered. Myong Lana.
I was just going to say on the Martin Amidu thing, is he still citizen vigilante or he's special prosecutor?
He's special prosecutor.
So he should do the work of the special prosecutor.
Okay, so what did you want to happen?
Oh, I wanted to, well, quite a number of things, but I've gone to page 13 of the graphics. So let's talk about SEC. And there are people who aren't sure because of the publication of those who are going to be paid. And I figured once I saw it that, oh, this will be in tranches, perhaps because they can't pay everybody at the same time. So just to reiterate some of what the Securities and Exchange Commission has been saying on page 13 of the Daily Graphic, SEC is clarifying that clients of 22 companies against whom the official liquidator had secured orders would form the first batch to receive payments, while other petition was pending in court to secure orders for the second batch, from which would form clients of about 28. We wish, and this is contained in the statement that they issued, we wish to assure all affected clients that the government's bailout package is all-inclusive, provided claims have been validated and liquidation orders secured. So what it is that there are people who received text messages of the validation, and they were expecting to be paid, but they didn't find their names in terms of the companies that they saved with. They didn't find them in the first publication that they made. So they are asking, are we also going to be paid, or we've been taken out of it? And I thought that's why I wanted to share a bit of what they're saying. So it will be in batches. They're talking about the first batch, for instance, and SEC indicated that they would communicate details of the payment process to affected clients starting this month of September. It stressed that although the government had agreed to pay clients, the move would strictly be based on the completion of validation and the securing of liquidation orders, saying it is therefore a question of timing and nothing else. I guess that pretty much explains matters. But what I also want to talk about is this Ghana-Nigeria relations that has different headlines out of this meeting with the president in terms of the Nigeria speaker, our speaker, and then our president. So Ghana-Nigeria relations intact on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Nigerians are safe in Ghana. That's the Ghanaian Times. And then Ghana-Nigeria strike deal to set up joint business council to end trade fracas. That's the point where I thought I have something to share. So everybody keeps talking about, and the Nigeria Speaker of Representatives also commented on the law that we have in terms of the GIPC Act, right? And I was thinking that instead of setting up committees from both sides to look at this matter, why don't we go back to the source of the law? Why don't we look at why we even have this piece of law in the first place, so that we can ask the question, is this still relevant? What was the piece of legislation supposed to cure, and whether or not it is still necessary? Otherwise, we'll be forming committees and we still have an existing law that our locals know that it's supposed to work for them. I think we shouldn't just be jumping on for the sake of relationship, because remember, Nigeria blocked their borders and they would not listen to anybody because they had an agenda. And until they were satisfied, they were not going to listen to anybody, not even Ghana. So I don't think for the name of relationship, but we should be thinking about our citizens and why we made that piece of legislation. Whether or not it is still relevant, has it cured what we set it up to cure, before we tolerate anybody coming from outside, unfortunately. I think that's what
and I believe that all of us will have a lot to say on it, because if you look at what the argument has been raised by the Nigerian authorities and then also the Nigerian Trade Association, as we have it in Ghana, it's the relation of our law between the law we have and then the ECOWAS protocols that we signed too. And if you look or you refer or avert your mind to the Investment Act 865 of the GIPC, it says the activities that are reserved for Ghanaians and Ghanaian-owned enterprises are there. And it says, one, a person who is not a citizen or an enterprise which is not wholly owned by a citizen shall not invest or participate in, one, the sale of goods or provision of services in the market, petty trading or hawking or selling of goods in a stall at any place. And this is specific. If you move also, they give all these dedications as well. And you and I have had this argument. It's about the implementation of the law that we haven't been able to do. So if we haven't been able to implement a law and the area is now crowded, it means that it is gray. So what should we have been doing before we said we wanted to now do the enforcement in an already crowded or a gray area?
Remember, the enforcement did not just happen. It was the traders themselves
who instigated
exactly
it. So that should be a concern for us. Because, look, we have an area that we say per our law should not have been crowded by people who were not supposed to, because of the law that we have. How did we leave that space for it to be now crowded? So how do we then evict people who are not supposed to be trading?
Unfortunately, we're not even talking about that now, because now we're talking about a committee to settle what
because
happened.
It's now become a full diplomatic issue.
So we're not even dealing with the core issue here. We're just dancing around it in the name of...
So in my perspective, it is not a matter of patriotism. It's a matter of us being either unable or reluctant or lackadaisical in implementing our law.
Do you need this piece of law or not? Do you get it?
It's a big question.
Do you need it or not? Is it serving a purpose or not? Are you able to enforce it? Because it doesn't say blanket. You can't have people foreigners doing business. You have to meet a certain threshold. You know, there are regulations for that. Is this still useful? If it is, then go ahead and do it. But don't set up a committee on the surface when you haven't dealt with the issue down there. It would still come back and haunt you. I mean, if Nigeria is able to do what they want to do, why can't we do what we want to do?
Because the reason why we're here is because the local traders or the local players are instigating all these lockups down there. And the big question that we then will have to ask all these committees that are going to be set up that have they talked to the local traders? Because the local traders act in a way that looks like they take the law into their own hands. So they are taking the law into their own hands because they feel they are backed by their local law.
Of course.
Good.
Yeah.
So have we talked to them? And is it not going to come up again? Because on the surface, you're going to have top Ghana, Nigerian officials going to say, oh, everything simmering at the top and the down has been resolved. But it hasn't been resolved.
Exactly.
It hasn't been resolved.
Exactly. And I think, you know, the fact that we've got lawmakers even at the center of this meeting, we should go back to the source and deal with matters there. Otherwise,
African politicians are like that. They'll go and
it's
just
not some
go and have tea and come back, and they'll never resolve the issues for their citizens.
It's unfortunate, really. I won't just be excited because we say, oh, we're forming a joint business council. It doesn't solve anything. Let's go back to what the core thing that we have there and ask ourselves if we need it.
Because people go to countries, you cannot just go and trade, right? Because you say that you have a law backing you. You travel to China, you can't just go and set up a store. You have to meet certain criteria. There are stories of Ghanaians who are married even to Chinese, have businesses there, and they are still not permanent citizens. They just have some residency permits. That is even subject to renewal per the law or the time that the Chinese authorities say they have to do that.
Let's hold on.
Why is it that when we travel abroad, we adhere to their protocols, their rules and regulations, or their laws, and in our country, our politicians who have gone to Harvard, have gone to some of the best schools in the West, are not able to implement some simple things that the whites or the West are able to implement in their countries?
I think I have a response. We don't know what we believe in. If you don't, then you can't hold on to anything. Yeah. Okay, so that's the Roland. Is there any other issue? No,
that's my main issue.
Okay.
And I also wanted to just take a look at.
So this issue of the mother who's been prosecuted for causing harm to her stepdaughter. I thought I'll get a bit of the background. The victim lived in the same room with her father, siblings, and the convicts at Nyankoman. Mary is the mother, invited the victim to run errand for her while playing with her friends in the neighborhood, but the victim did not respond to the call. And this is the police narrating, right? So Mary, upon seeing the victim, decided to lash her with a cane, but in the process, the cane hits the victim's left eye. Mary warned the victim not to tell the father, or else she would subject her to severe beatings. When the victim was questioned by the father about her injury, she lied that it was his younger brother who hit her left eye with a stick while they were playing, and the father took her to the health facility at Nyankoman for treatment. Prosecution said the complainant took the girl to the Presbyterian Health Center in Inchi, where a referral note was issued to her to take the victim to the Agogo Hospital in the Ashanti region to seek further medical attention. The complainant lodged the complaint at the Inchi police station, where a medical report form was issued. Okay, so I guess we get the background to the story. That's a stepmother who's chatting with her friends in the neighborhood, sees her stepdaughter, calls her to run errands, thinks that the daughter is disobeying her, so she decides to lash her, and in the process, the cane hits her left eye, affected her gravely. Because if you were listening to the story as I was narrating, they had to visit different health facilities. They couldn't take care of her, and so the police had to step in, issue a report for them to go to the Agogo hospital. Yeah.
Abuse.
Another stepmother story, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know why stepmothers can't just take the children. I mean, even if you think they're stubborn.
There's some few who have some great stories. Some because they've built great relationship with their step, but it's never an easy thing as well.
I know.
But that is not.
But listen,
the
if you won't do
why
the same, I'm just thinking,
it's not the
if you
reason why
won't do the same
abuse.
to your daughter, why would you do it to your husband's daughter? Because this is not like a total stranger. This is your husband's daughter.
Yeah.
You know, why, if you wouldn't do that to A, why would you do it to B? Is it because you didn't birth B?
It's a big issue.
Yeah.
It's really a big issue. As the men who have fathered various children around and sometimes have a dedicated wife, etc. I wonder, and bring the children home for that same person to look after.
But I'm also just thinking that prison is not the solution to this matter.
No.
Prison isn't the solution.
It's not peculiar to our society. It's not peculiar to our society. It looks like the human beings, we have certain frailties, whether it's an emotional thing or I don't know. We tend to accept those that are more of us biologically than those that we're not connected to biologically. I don't know why we do that.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Okay, well, it's almost a wrap for us here on the AM Show with a review. We've got a lot more stories on myjoyonline.com. We encourage you to visit our page, and then you can digest some of the stories that we have on My Joy Online, including the issue with Flagbearer, what he said, what he did not say, how people are twisting what he didn't say, and the comments
he
that
actually
he
never said anything until yesterday or 2 days ago.
Exactly. So
he had never said anything.
Then finally, the clarification, or is it a clarification or the distancing, actually ended up with the comments on the deal. Okay, let's just take a listen to him.
It was titled House of Chiefs Condemn Ethnocentric Comments shared by John Dramani Mahama. Again, most of these publications came with my name, but this one went further to forge the letterhead of the National House of Chiefs. By the time it was dropped by Ghana Web, it had attracted almost 150 comments. This is extremely mischievous and need to be condemned without any reservation and in no uncertain terms. I, in particular, am very much hurt by the attempt to use my name to grant legitimacy to a transaction that has been very widely condemned for its secrecy and for the fact that the company involved, Agyapa, was incorporated in a tax haven. I do not see why desperation will lead anybody who is associated with that transaction to want to use the name of innocent Flagbearer the 14th. I've never commented on these kind of transactions, and I've decided not to comment for good reason. That show disapproval of this transaction. Tax havens typically serve two purposes: helping you to avoid tax or ensure secrecy. I don't see why a national transaction should be shrouded in secrecy in the first place.
So for those of you who are just following the politicians who hear Flagbearer and then you decide to comment without knowing who he is, apart from the fact that he's the president of the National House of Chiefs, let's give you a bit of background. He's a legend when it comes to investment. He's one of the founding fathers of Data Bank. He founded Strategic African Securities. He's a guru when it comes to this area. So he's an expert, and that's where he's coming from. Before you speak and open your mouth,
we have to say that
and twist what he says. Just know where he's coming from, Roland.
Well, I also have to say that he's in the same mode, just like the finance minister. So both of them well versed in such matters in their own right as well. So we know this will keep dominating the discussion. I'm sure even Newsfile tomorrow will take a look at it.
Yeah.
But we have to take a break, Mama V.
We do, and bring you sports. We've got a relationship conversation coming up later after sports, so you've got to stay with us.